I think it's going to be a little bit before that. I think the game doesn't start until we hit 1 million. And that's when we're going to start talking about Satoshis. But every 100,000 is going to take less and less time. It's the ultimate compounding. So I think we're going to hit 1 million quicker than people think. You don't have to be the best. Just do what you do best. Everybody in the world has a skill set. Take that skill set and show people what you do and integrate Bitcoin into that. Bitcoiners, I don't know what it is, Robin. They're just the nicest people in the world. And they just do so much for us. The dollar demand, because the supply goes up, will go down. Because of Bitcoin's adoption of the supply going down, the demand will go up. All I talk about is, man, if I'm in a store like, wow, look at this. This can of beans was 60 cents last year. Now it's $1.25. What the heck? What happened? And then I just let them talk. Every time I look at this shirt, this is my favorite shirt. Every time I look at this, I just say, wow, everything in the world is going to be priced in that.
Let's talk about Bitcoin, gold, the debasement trade, Charlie Kirk, and the overall Bitcoin gospel. Where do you want to start, sir?
Well, first of all, I'm doing well. Thank you. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it. But we can start with gold. Gold is our friend. As we checked the price today, as of this recording, it was over 4,100, and silver hit like $52. And so I'm happy for them. I'm very glad people are starting to wake up and starting to go into hard assets, because that's what it's all about. The original hard assets, and that's gold and silver. And people got to realize that it's not, us versus them, meaning Bitcoiners versus gold and silver stackers. We're like a military or an army, and we're just different departments of that fighting against the fiat debasement. And it's good, because I started, as many of you know, Robin, I started with gold and silver. I sold it all for Bitcoin. But now that I look back and I still watch some of the gold and silver people that I used to watch before, they're very happy. In my personal opinion, not to, poop on them or anything like that, but gold should be 10,000 an ounce and silver should be over 200 an ounce. But there's a lot of manipulation going on there. But I'm glad they're getting their, time in the sun. They deserve it. And hopefully people will wake up when they see, that the dollar is losing value, the Dixie, and people's purchasing power is going down. They'll look and say, oh, wow, what's a safe haven? Where should I put my money? And they start looking into gold and silver. Because to me, all roads lead to Bitcoin. And gold and silver is kind of like, going to elementary school, learning about the fiat debasement, learning about the system that's broken. But then getting into Bitcoin is like a doctorate or a graduate, a very high level. So once they get into gold and silver and understand what the problem is, because that's the thing, they got to understand what the problem is. Then, like I said, all roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, it also seems that like mainstream media is slowly waking up to the reality. I think JP Morgan it is that says there's a debasement trade going on with Bitcoin. Now inflation, like every single day, mainstream media, at least in Europe, but I guess the same thing is happening in America, where mainstream media is reporting on inflation, and they're saying inflation is so bad. So I guess mainstream media is slowly waking up to the problem, even though they still say like, oh, greedy corporations, war, and all of that. Like not talking about the money, but at some point it is impendent, and that debasement is the real problem and not a symptom of debasement. And I'm really curious on how this will shake out when the mainstream gets what the real problem is, and then wakes up to the reality, oh, okay, they're just printing money, so they're devaluing it, and that's why I'm screwed. Oh, that's not good. So I don't know how this will shake out. Like at some point people have to wake up like, oh, I'm saving in fiat, and over the past 10, 15, 20 years, I got just completely screwed. That's kind of like a hard reality to swallow.
Yeah, and that's how I see it too. And it's funny, they are talking about it, because I watch a lot of news and stuff like that. And not only are they talking about inflation, but they're actually, like you said, they're talking about debasement by printing. And everybody knows what the word inflation is. They just don't know what it is and the definition. And now people are starting to understand, like, oh my goodness. So inflation is not just prices going up. It's actually them printing more dollars and the supply of dollars chasing the same amount of goods, which brings the prices, quote unquote, up. and your value of your dollar is going down. And it's funny that you hear them saying the word fiat currency a lot. I didn't hear that 10 years ago. So it's kind of like becoming mainstream. Even on the mainstream, they're talking about it. But again, when they're talking about, when they're showing gold and silver and Bitcoin, because again, Bitcoin now, and I'm seeing this a lot, and I said this on my channel, that a lot of people that are talking about gold, about 80% of the time, they bring up Bitcoin, which is good. And again, we have to pull back the layers and go nice and slow. But as long as people understand what the problem is and where it comes from, I think that's when people start slowly but surely getting into Bitcoin, and then it'll compound after that.
I just showed that we discovered that on the previous podcast that we did yesterday, basically. And I want to show you this because I found it so crazy. I've never heard about it, and the guest kind of gave me the idea that I should try that out. And what I did is I searched the term with Google Trends, the term the debasement trade. This is the blue line that you see where there's nothing really going on outside of a few small here in March 2024, and basically right now where it spikes from 0 to 6, which is nothing compared to what the general term debasement is now trading at. And it's not trading, but looking at, it's not a stock you can buy. It would be fun being able to buy those things. But there you see the last 5 years, debasement was kind of on the same level. And all of a sudden now, the past couple of days, because JP Morgan and all those mainstream TradFi people pushed out debasement, it's all of a sudden hugely talked about. And I was like, okay, what is it? How, not the past 5 years, how was it looking the last 20 years? And Google allows for that here. And the past 20 years, it's been up also tremendously, but only one time before that. And I'm curious if you have any insights on that, but I haven't found any thing that was going on there. But in 2012, there was also a lot of talks. I know 2007, 8, the financial crisis, but 3 years later, all of a sudden, there was a lot of talk about the debasement. It's maybe also Bitcoin in play, but back then Bitcoin was still a lot smaller. And now we're back up to those big talks about debasement. What are you thinking about on that?
Yeah, it looks like to me, and I've never seen that chart. That's cool. It looks like when silver went up to, I believe, $50 around that time, around 2011, when the brother, I forget what the brothers are named, they bought a bunch of silver and stuff like that, and gold and silver went up big time on that, and it was the silver squeeze, the original silver squeeze. So that might be that. But I think now in today's situation, it's almost like when we talk about Bitcoin, where we're talking about gradually then suddenly. You know what I mean? It just goes up. And again, the fiat currency will die. And I know that the stable coins, because Trump wants to keep the dollar alive, they're going to try to stable out the dollar with that and things like that. But like the gold and silver bugs want, and I don't want the dollar to die, because it's going to be a lot of pain for everybody. But like the gold and silver stackers will say, that the end of the fiat currency is coming, and doomsday is coming, and all this other stuff. So when you see the debasement going like that, again, we're at almost 38 trillion in debt, and it's not going to slow down, and the money printer is going to, go crazy. We'll probably talk about that later. And then, of course, the interest rates are going to get lowered. And again, you can kick the can down the road for only for so long. And that's what I think was happening. And once you do that, you got to get to the end of the cliff. And I'm not saying it is at the end of the cliff, but it's got to be getting close. Nobody knows. And again, I think the stable coins will help the dollar for a little bit. But at the end of the day, like I said, all roads lead to Bitcoin. And people are waking up to this, and they're seeing it. They're feeling the pain. You know what I mean? This is like back in the 70s and 80s. Now they'll try to blame it on Trump or Biden or whatever, but red and blue, they both print money. They both overspend. And again, in the U.S. In particular, the government is the problem. And I tell people all the time, this is why you have to pay attention to politics. It all starts with politics. And when your government's too big and they spend too much, that's a big problem. And that's where the debasement comes in.
It's actually an interesting question of how much as Bitcoiners, do we still have to kind of look at politics because we think like we have always this talk of we are Bitcoiners, like Bitcoin is untouchable and like if we have Bitcoin, we are free. How much do we still have to care about what politics are actually doing?
In my humble personal opinion, I think we have to look at it a lot. I mean, the reason why Bitcoin is here today is because of what? Is because the dollar is being debased and they print too much. It started in, 2008. Everybody knows what happened. And then obviously 1971, we were taking off the gold standard. And before that, in 1933, they did it. They debased your gold or your currency or your energy by 40% when they did the executive order 6102. Believe gold was $20.62 in 1933, and then they repriced it at like 34, 35 the next year, 1934. And now today, and then what happened in the late 70s and 80s when Paul Volcker had to raise the interest rate to keep the inflation down, they can't do that today. So they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And this all has to do with politics because whoever's in office, red or blue, they all spend money. And when they debase your currency, the fiat currency that you're forced to use because you are forced to use it, they don't give you a choice. If you don't pay your taxes, you can go to jail for that, or get, whatever in some countries or whatever, and get bad credit. You can get your house taken if you don't pay your taxes on your house and stuff like that. But everything in our world is political now, especially today. And in particular, when President Trump came down that escalator 10 years ago in 2015, that changed politics. It ain't about red and blue anymore. You know what I mean? The Democrat Party has gone very, very far left, and the MAGA portion of the party, or the Republican Party, is kind of like a moderate, little bit to the right party. They'll call it a far right or whatever. But the media, the conglomerate, a lot of people, higher ups that are controlling things, just don't like Trump and anything he stands for. And for me, I always tell people a conservative today is just a common sense person, in my personal opinion. So politics are a big deal with Bitcoin, because again, that's where it comes from. When you look at the US debt clock and you see, the 4 line items we spend on Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security. And then we have the military, and then you have the interest on the debt. Again, that is all politics. And that's, being legislated by the House and the Senate. And when you have a deficit and you're running a deficit like we are of about 2 trillion, as of this accord is like 1.9 trillion, meaning we spend 7.4 trillion and we make 5.5 trillion. And that's a big deficit. Again, that comes from the top. So I tell people all the time, just pay attention to what's going on. And I'm not saying you have to be, a political pundit and stuff like that. But if you want to know what's going on with Bitcoin, again, with the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and the Bitcoin Act, which hasn't come yet, we still haven't had an audit on the what we have. Those things are important. So definitely pay attention to politics, no doubt.
I'm also curious on what the political reaction worldwide will be once Bitcoin hits certain milestones. The first milestone I'm really looking forward to is when Bitcoin will be more worth than any other asset. Speak flipping in gold. This will be huge. This probably will also coincide with Bitcoin hitting $1 million somewhere along those lines. Like it probably will happen maybe a little bit above 1 million because gold will also go up in that time frame. So it's hard to predict exactly when, but those two events I'm really looking forward to, and I think those will be maybe even in the same year. And I'm curious on like what will be the political reaction towards that. And I can only imagine two main things happening. If the one political reaction of like, oh, we have to buy as much as possible from that because obviously it's not stoppable. It has been coming a long way and it's probably there for like 20 years at that point. And then the other reaction is like, oh, we don't want to lose control of our fiat currencies. We have to ban this thing. I mean, this has been the reaction since so long from certain countries. But how do you look at that? Like, what do you realistically think that like the political reaction towards Bitcoin will be once it is so big that it is the biggest asset in the world. Like all those arguments of like being bad for the environment and like it being a bubble or anything, like those arguments are out of the window at that point because like too many people hold it. I would assume.
Yeah. Well, about politics, it's a lot of the medias are controlled by the political entities. Like in America, we have, cable networks like MSNBC and CNN. You got your left wing stuff. And then on the regular channels, you got ABC, CBS, NBC. They're all left wing. And the Democrat Party, and I always say, Bitcoin is for everyone. It's not just for, Republicans or conservatives or libertarians or independents or whatever. It's for everybody. But like I said, the left has gone so far. I'm trying to bring the left wing of the party back towards the center so we can have some common sense. Yeah, we might disagree with a few things, but we need to understand that just because you hate Trump, that doesn't mean there's no inflation and you're not paying a lot more at the gas pump or whatever. But when Bitcoin, and again, I like what you said about, being the number one asset in the world. I think it's going to be a little bit before that. I think the game doesn't start until we hit 1 million. And that's when we're going to start talking about Satoshis. And as you can see in my shirt here, this is all the world's money right here in the future. This is 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. 21 million Bitcoin, 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. And I think then CNBC, these financial channels, once we hit 1 million per Bitcoin, that's when they'll start measuring everything in Satoshis per dollar. I use a certain app I use to buy Satoshis, and I buy $1 an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And the reason why I picked that, because I want to see what my dollar can get me. And as of this recording, it's like 800 and something Satoshis per dollar. Once we get to 1 million price of Bitcoin, I think maybe on the side note, they may say Bitcoin's $1 million. But by then, that's when the game starts, by the way. They'll be talking about Satoshis and how many Satoshis you can get for $1. Meanwhile, in the background, as your per dollar, when it goes to $1 to 90 cents to 80 cents per dollar, how many Satoshis you get per dollar. In the background, Bitcoin will be going up by hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. So that's definitely going to affect politics. But if you really look at things and how it is with Bitcoin, especially being so scarce like it is on my shirt, it took us 16 years to get to 100,000 price of Bitcoin. 16 years. I ask people this all the time. How long do you think it's going to take us to get to 200,000? From 100,000 to 200,000, still the same thing. It's just another 100. Do you think it's going to take 16 years? 8 years? 4 years? 2 years? Less, right? So I believe, and again, we know it goes up and down. It's not going to be perfect, but every 100,000 is going to take less and less time. It's the ultimate compounding. So I think we're going to hit 1 million quicker than people think. I got it in Epoch 6, early Epoch 6, the first half of Epoch 6, 2028 or 2029. But every 100,000 is going to take longer. Now, again, we're going to have our bear markets and it's going to be different situations. But politically speaking, they're not going to be able to help but talk about this. They have no choice but to talk about it. They can disagree on this and that, and they can spend this here and spend that there. But at the end of the day, when Bitcoin hits 1 million, that's when the game starts. They're going to start measuring everything in Satoshis, and nobody's going to be able to ignore it at that point.
I love that framing of we will measure things in Satoshis, because this is the real unit. This is the unit that we are supposed to use. 1 Bitcoin is so absurdly much for just one person that you will look back in 30, 40 years and go ahead and say, you know what? I heard that he has a full Bitcoin. The same way as people say, oh, what? Like he has like $1 billion, like some crazy amount of money. They will be like saying like, oh, okay, like what's going on? Like a Bitcoin will be so much that it will be inconceivable for the normal person. And so it naturally will be Satoshis. And I think long-term, even something beyond Satoshis that will be underneath Satoshis, because like if we pay and if we start paying for normal things, we need something that is smaller than a Bitcoin. If you look at the dollar Satoshi parity and $1 is 1 Bitcoin, we need something we need some cents. We need, I don't know, Satoshi cents or Nakamoto's or whatever we call it, underneath one Satoshi to make sure you can buy one Satoshi and 43 Nakamoto's worth of a coffee, if it makes sense.
And I talked about that on the last show. I want our dollar to be backed by one Satoshi, $1, and then move the decimal point back to 2 times, almost like, 100 cents or 100 Nakamotos to every Satoshi, and do it that way. But I wanted to show you a website real quick, Robin. It's called timechaincalendar.com. Have you ever seen that?
100%. I actually show this website on every live stream. It's my first thing that I always show. I can put it up here if you want.
Yeah, and I want to do something. I actually took a screenshot, but I'd like to show it in real life. Now, this is going to be a little bit difficult, but I want you to move the time chain calendar back to maybe today's date or close to it. I think you know how to do it, right? Right there at the bottom. At the bottom.
Oh, here.
Right
okay,
there.
yeah.
Now move it over to the left. Keep going past the middle to the left of the middle. Yep. No, a little bit more. Okay, try that. Go to block 378,807. See if you can get there.
Free what? 370.
Yeah, you're a couple thousand away. Yep. Okay. Other way. Yep. Okay, right around there.
It's hard to get
Yeah, I know. So that the date is.
But wait, I can search my block actually.
October 13th. Yeah, there you go.
October 13th. I can also search by date. So it is which date?
2015.
2015 October
13th today.
13. Go.
Now here's the interesting part. The price is okay, whatever. We see the price, right? We see, it's $249, $250, but take a look at that number underneath that.
400,000 Satoshis per US dollar.
Satoshis per US dollar. And the reason I'm showing that is because, right now we're in the gold rush, right? We started January, like Michael Seyr says, January 10th, 2024. And right now we're in the midst of that. And it ends, like Michael Seyr says, on around, November, I think it's November, December 2034, as Dash Clark Moody says, when we get to the last, we mine 99% of all Bitcoin and there's only 1% left. Today, guys, like I said, you can get 800 and something Satoshis for $1. And back then, that's 400,000 Satoshis for $1. 10 years from now, I ask people, how many Satoshis do you think you're going to get? And like you said, Robin, I truly believe, based on math like this, now what is it today?
We just hit a new block, 918886. Amazing. I always love when this happens live, like when this happens, like while the recording is. But today you get for $1 US, 874. So imagine that from 10 years ago, from 400,000 Satoshis, now you get 874, which is still like tremendously, like just $1 and you get 800 Satoshis. That's a lot.
Yes. And even though you're a young guy, you remember 2015. That wasn't that long ago, right? I mean, you're a young guy. You were what, 10 or 11 or whatever you were, you're a young guy. But 10 years from now, again, I always tell people the future is on its way, and that's not that long. So again, this is the gold rush. And I ask people looking back at that, and again, it's not the same, but would you agree that adoption from 2015 to 2025 is what it is? But I think the adoption, because of the gradually then suddenly and then more people coming in and the compound effect on top of that, I believe it's going to be much greater than it was from 2015 to 2025. Then it would be much greater from 2025 to 2035 with all the, and this is without the ETFs. This is without MicroStrategy. This is without the governments. That's just from 2015 to 2025, just some regular people. Right. So now you add all that stuff in, and then the FOMO, the nation states, and, once we hit $1 million and the marketing and all these things, again, how many Satoshis do you think you're going to get for $1 in 2035? I believe, like you said, Robin, they're going to have to move the decimal point back a few times. And people got to understand that your dollar today you're getting pennies and pennies and pennies on the dollar from what you're it's worth. I mean, you're getting it at such a discount. And again, I know compared to 400,000, it's nothing, but compared to what it's going to be in 2035, it's going to blow your mind.
It is really, it's an outstanding thing to think about Bitcoin being so. I just see like how cheap the fee rates are currently for people. Like if you have to consolidate your UTXOs, like it's a really good time now. It's like super fee, like priority 1 sats per VByte and anytime 1 sats per VByte. That low, I don't see that often. Like it's ridiculously low currently, which is great for anyone like me that uses Bitcoin as a medium of exchange also. But I wanted to come to the point of Bitcoin being the superior store of value and the best asset you can possibly have. It kind of makes this point of like, okay, what should I do with my Bitcoin? Like, where should I diversify it? Completely as a nonsensical question, because it is just Bitcoin. Like, why would you put anything else in anything that is not as good as Bitcoin? You're just like diversifying into a loser. And this is where I'm so strong on this, where like, it is Bitcoin, and I love picking stocks. I love doing all sorts of things. And I did that before. And now, since about 4 years, I solely focus on Bitcoin just because I don't find anything worth pursuing. This might change in 10 years when we have a Bitcoin adoption of like 80% or like beyond that. But right now, like it's Bitcoin and Bitcoin only.
Absolutely. I say at the end of all of my videos, it's the best way to save. And for me, the only way to save. And that's Bitcoin. And there's nothing else. So from right now, as we're transitioning into this new money, and we are going through a paradigm shift, whether people understand that or not, that's what we're going through. So once 2035 hits and maybe a little bit beyond, Bitcoin is the only way. You just store your money in there. It's the easiest play you'll ever have. Just work, create value. I mean, really work your butt off. Get as many fiat dollars as you can, or you can get Satoshis from different things and cut out the middleman. But get as many fiat dollars as you can. Keep your expenses low. Earn as much as you can, and then get a big surplus, the biggest surplus you can get, and then put it all into Bitcoin and don't worry about anything else and just wait. And then once we become a nation or a world, or Bitcoin becomes that, fifth step, because again, it's a collectible, then it's a store of value, like you said, because right now it's a store of value. Then a small percentage right now is a medium of exchange, because again, I tip my barber in Satoshis. I tip people in it. I try to spend it at Steak and Shake. Maybe I go there a little too much, and I do different things. But then in order for it to be a unit of account, right? And that's what I want in America. I want it to be our ledger, our unit of account. Like, this is what we measured in. Then it could become a global, world asset, a global reserve currency. But until then, just make as much as you can in fiat, spend less, earn more, spend less, and put the rest in sats, and you'll be fine. And then you can invest, quote unquote, later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is the only real way that we can move forward on this. By the way, you talked about the paradigm shift, and also I also see Bitcoin as something deeper than just having a new sort of money. I mean, having a new sort of money already is such a profound thing that it will change a lot. What do you think what else is coming with this paradigm shift outside of, we're now using Bitcoin as money?
Well, people will understand what the old system was, number one, and they'll understand what the problem was during this paradigm shift and past. But also, too, many people are not going to be in the elite asset class like we are going to be, because again, it's just going to happen that the people that got into this early, they're going to make fun of us. They're going to call us names. They're going to say all these things. But the quote unquote normies, or just the regular people, they can actually go to work and put something away. They can actually save. I was taught as a kid by my grandparents to always save $10 or $20, and the fiat debasement wasn't that bad when I was a kid. But now it's just, again, the longer this goes and the closer it comes to the end of the fiat currency, that's when, again, that's why you see the debasement stuff going up so quick. And that's why you see people, running to safe havens like, Bitcoin and gold and silver, people can understand that, hey, I can actually go to work, and not only can I save for the future, but everything is getting cheaper for me. Everything. And so I can say, wow, I can actually understand what money is, because again, everybody goes to work. I drive sometimes on the side for little side gigs and stuff, and I watch people, and I'm like, most of these people that are driving in these cars or on the road are trying to go and earn some money somehow, and they spend all this time getting ready for work, going to work, doing all these things. They don't understand money, and I think what Bitcoin will do is expose the problem, uh, make it become a solution, and then people will have a brighter future because of that.
I very much agree with that. Like you would be surprised by how strong the impact of Bitcoin will be on the world. Like I truly believe that, and it is something where I'm thinking, what else did we had in the history of humanity? They changed the course of history of humanity, kind of a fork in the road, if you so will. Like a printing press, the steam engine, the electronic telegraph, whatever it was, it really changed profoundly of how we live together. And for me, Bitcoin is the current thing. Bitcoin is this new evolution of a currency, of a money, of a store of value, of an asset, of however you want to call it. It is something way more profound than just that. It is a huge paradigm shift. And I think as soon as you realize that, you handle it in a more professional manner, in a more serious manner, and you're like, oh yeah, like I really have to take that serious and don't screw it up. Like you really put everything in there as hard as you possibly can.
Yes, and it's everything that you said it was and more. I mean, if you really just think about all the subjects or things that we talk about in life, I mean, it's like you can put Bitcoin in everything. Like that, that's why they always say you fix the money, you fix the world. This is the first time in human history that we have a scarce asset like this. That's, when every time I look at this shirt, this is my favorite shirt. Every time I look at this, I just say, wow, everything in the world is going to be priced in that. Everything. And when you look at that and you see the scarcity and the finality of that, and then on top of that, and that's just that, but on top, you have a payment system that is peer to peer. And just like the internet was information, this is value that you can transfer to anybody without anybody's permission. And I don't think that's priced in yet. I just think people think, of course, we all think in fiat. We're all taught about dollars and things like that. And they see the quote unquote number go up or the price go up. But people don't understand the freedom that it gives you, the sovereignty that it gives you, the choices that it gives you. And I do a daily live show every day. And I give away Satoshis every day. I have a thing called the Wheel of Satoshi. And every time a block comes out, I celebrate and I spin the block and I give away 100 Satoshis every time a block comes out and it lands on their name. And I can just send it to them instantly. I don't need a third party. I don't need someone to give me permission. I don't have to go through Zelle or PayPal or, something like that. And when these companies and businesses realize, like Jack Dorsey is doing with Square, that they can use a payment system that not only has finality of payment right then and there, but it's so much cheaper and so much faster. Again, the world is not ready for this, and again, I don't think any of that stuff's priced in yet.
I just see it. You're going live. Wow. Like every single day. Yes. Freedom live stream with Jerry Loves Freedom.
Yep. The first half of the show, I talk about Bitcoin. The second half of the show, I talk about politics and global stuff, but it all ties to Bitcoin. Like I said before, everything is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is everything. I believe that, and politics included. So you got to understand where it's coming from. And if I do a 3-hour show, let's just say there's 6 blocks that come out every hour. That's about 18 blocks. I give out 100 Satoshis per spin. And then at the end, if you stay to the end, I have a game called the All or Nothing game, where I'll put 1,000 Satoshis on the wheel 5 times, and I'll do 5 winners, and I'll give those away. And one day in 10 years, they're going to look, my grandkids are going to look back and say, oh my God, my grandpa was giving away 100 Satoshis every spin. Is he crazy? That, that buys me groceries right now or something. So, but again, the point is, I can send that to people just instantly. And again, I don't think that stuff is priced in yet.
When are you going live? Like you're doing every day at the same time?
Yeah, every day. I do Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Thursday, I do 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern. And then Friday, I do Fat Sat Friday, where I double the sats, where I give away 200 sats per spin. And then I also and then I do double sometimes, where I do a 2x on the wheel 5 times, and if it hits, you can get 400 and 600 stuff like that. And then at the end, for the all or nothing, instead of 1,000, I'll do 2,000. And then on Saturday, I do a Saturday Night Live from Las Vegas. And sometimes I've been doing them Sunday if they want me to. But I just been going hard because I know how important the world is and how important Bitcoin is to the world.
The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use simplemining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Again, that's microseed.io to get your last backup tool you ever need.
Man, keep it going. It's so important that we have more soldiers out there that actually care about Bitcoin so much that they're like, I will defend that in my corner of the internet as much as possible. On every corner that I'm invited to, I will be defending Bitcoin. And this is something so important. And I urge everyone, consider making public content. And you don't have to show your face. You don't have to show your real name. You can literally just write an article. You can write something on there, on Twitter, on Reddit, on Substack, on wherever your platform is, and you can just post it. If you want to do video, do video. Whatever your favorite platform is, just pick one and do it. You would be amazed how much amazing things can actually happen from that. So I encourage each and every one of my viewers, of like whoever I encounter, like, do content. That's the whole name of the game. Like, do content. This is so important. And I also have people reaching out to me like, oh, I want to be on the podcast. And then I was like, oh, like what content have you made? And it's like, oh, you haven't made anything. Like you haven't really like done any content yourself. Like start with yourself. Like, think about, how do you look at Bitcoin? Do the proof of work. Like, write your thoughts down. Like, speak your thoughts in the camera. Do something. People appreciate that so much, and not a lot of people actually do that. If you think about how many content creators there are, I probably know like 80% of them in the Bitcoin sphere. I had now almost 600 different guests on my podcast. There are a lot, but also not that many at the same time. And then you also have to consider how many people are there that do it on a daily basis. Like I can count them under 100. There's not a lot of people that do it actually. And so if you have something, sorry for my small rant, but if you have thoughts on Bitcoin, like go ahead and post it, publish it wherever you need. And if you have a lot of thoughts, like just write a book. Like honestly, this is probably a shortcut to the Bitcoin community because Bitcoiners really love reading books. And if you have great thoughts, like put it in a book and send it to me. I would love to host you on my podcast.
Yes, I have a guy. He wrote a book, and he's in my group, and I'll tell you about that after the show. But I completely agree with that. Bitcoin does not, and the good thing, there's good things and bad things about Bitcoin. The good thing is we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is. There's no owner, there's no CEO, there's no CFO. That's a good thing. But the bad thing is that means there's no marketing department either. Right. And this is why I wear shirts like this. And like you said, and I concur, I completely agree with you because I preach that from the mountaintops that we got to get out here. We're all just regular people, right? The difference between someone like Robin and yourself is Robin decided to go on here and use his skill set and to talk to people. He has a skill set. Everybody has a skill set. You don't have to be the best. Just do what you do best. Okay? You don't have to be the best. Just do what you do best. Everybody in the world has a skill set. Take that skill set and show people what you do and integrate Bitcoin into that, right? There's people out here, I don't resonate with everybody, right? Maybe because of how I talk or whatever. People just don't relate to me the way I look, or, somebody may like me, but may not like someone else, or somebody may like Robin, not like me. There's a lot of people in the world, and it makes the world go around because there's so many different people. There's so many people out here like yourself, like you watching this, that they will love to hear your story, that are just regular people that have no idea, that were just like me and you, that didn't know about Bitcoin. But if you go out here and say, hey, I'm a plumber, this is what I do, I make this amount, but my prices are going up. I used to have this portfolio of this and that, but then I discovered Bitcoin because the money was broken and this, that, and the third. And you just explain it to them in detail, while you're doing your plumbing, because you're doing a good job of plumbing, or a painter or a nurse or whatever you do. And then explain to them that I'm doing all this work, but I'm on a hamster wheel, not going anywhere because the money's broken. That's why. And explain to them what inflation is. I tell everybody, it all starts with the money printer. If people don't understand the problem, they're not going to get into Bitcoin. Every time I talk about someone, when I wear one of these shirts, I don't go into Bitcoin. All I talk about is, man, if I'm in a store, like, wow, look at this. This can of beans was 60 cents last year. Now it's $1.25. What the heck? What happened? And then I just let them talk. Right. And then when you let them talk, they'll tell you, oh, yeah, I remember $20 can get me this and that or whatever. But you got to go out there, show people what you do. You don't have to be the best. Do what you do best and integrate Bitcoin and show people what the problem is. But again, step out there. It's not about, there's nothing to be nervous about. Just, you don't have to be a different person. Just be you. Go out there and show them what you do every day. Talk to them, like you said, whether it's a blog, whether it's just turning on the camera, doing a selfie, take a picture of what you're doing and say, hey, I made this amount. Last year I made that amount, whatever. But get out there and try to change the world one person at a time. And believe me, there's people out there just like you. And if you had one person that you said, man, I watched such and such video and they orange pilled me, I mean, that's worth his weight in gold to me. So just go out there and, like I said, and be comfortable in your own skin. Be you. Don't be like anybody else. But get out there and preach the Bitcoin gospel.
I want to show this people. I just was curious. I've never looked since like so freaking long on my first video, and it might be interesting for people to know. It's not that long ago, and it is horrible. But honestly, I liked looking back at it because it's just like it was literally me talking, and I remember how scared I was. I'm telling you, I was so scared of people, what they say. I didn't even wear my glasses. like I had the same classes that I had right now. I mean, maybe different classes, but like I also had the classes back in the day. But I did not wear them because I was afraid what people might say about my classes. Like
What year was this?
This was 2023, end of 2023. So it came out here on November 2023. It's not even 2 years old. Not even 2 years. Like it's not long ago at all.
Right. I do that too. I go back and watch old videos. My first video, I made a video, my 5-year anniversary, September 20th, 2020. And I look back and it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible, but all it can do is get better, right? Nobody cares that it's bad or whatever, because they're not doing it. Most of us are consumers. We're not creators. You got to become both, right? In order to learn how to become a creator, watch, and you got to be a consumer and watch other creators and get out there and make mistakes, critique yourself, and just keep getting better and better and better. And get out there and do it. Again, Robin, that wasn't long ago. 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, and look where he's at now. So again, in order to learn how to swim, you got to get into the pool. You can't do it from the sideline.
Still doing the same old podcast.
Yeah.
Where's Robin now? He's still talking to people about Bitcoin.
Yep.
Just a little bit more. It's really just, I love also this producer and consumer thing because it's a very Bitcoiner thing to do. I personally think we are all to some extent consumers and producers, obviously, like you cannot do only one. But I think most people are very much on the consumer side. They're like 90% on the consumer side and just like a little bit on the producer side. With producing, it's hard because like, is a job producing? Yeah, like in my opinion, if you have a job, it's already kind of producing. But if you produce something on your own, this counts as double, twice, like triple, whatever. If you produce like your own show and you try to like provide maybe even for other people where you have like employees and stuff, this is such a different level of producing that you it's really hard to grasp the whole spectrum of what you will learn from that. Of like, okay, I go ahead and make my own job as a content creator. And then, okay, I got money and I don't have that time. So I guess I take some of the money, give it to another person to get more of the time back. And then all of a sudden you're like, I have 3 people now that do that for me. And what is the next step? Oh gosh, like this month was not as good, but I still have to keep paying those people. And then all of a sudden you take, you develop of like, okay, I have to make some war chest, for my employees to make sure this is always there so I can pay them. Then you have to think about, okay, what is the next step? Like you always have to be kind of like 3-4 months ahead of everyone else to think ahead of it. What happens if he quits? Is then the business gone? like all of those things. It really made me a entirely different human being. And this just in not even 2 years. It's kind of fascinating. And when this flips and it is, the 28th of November, 2025, I might make like a small video on that because it's just 2 years. Like 2 years is not crazy long. Like nothing happens in 2 years. But, in my case, like everything happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Half an epoch. You did great. Because I look at everything in 4-year cycles. And you're absolutely right, man. People out here, most of you guys have jobs and you work full time, and that's great. But like the great Jim Rohn says, work harder on yourself than you do your job, right? So if you're going to give your job 8 hours, and again, it's more than that because you got to think about your job. You got to drive to your job. You got to get ready for the job, everything else. Let's say it's 10 hours. Try to match that either on your off time or the weekends and stuff like that, and be a producer / creator and get out there and put yourself out there. Like I said, I do my live shows every day and I do my best to create as much value as I can to people. And most people, I know Bitcoiners do, but most people don't like to be educated. They like to be entertained. So I try to do both. I try to make them laugh, entertain them, do some fun stuff while I'm sneaking in some education. So it's like I'm a classroom. We watch videos together, and you learn, and you as a creator or a producer, you can give somebody something that they can learn. Like in the classroom, you give them that information and then they go and do their own homework. And then they can thank you for that. Like, oh, he gave me this. I didn't even know that. And also too, while you're learning, they can learn something. And I do this in my group all the time. They're showing me stuff. So not only am I learning, but I'm also teaching, educating, and entertaining, but also they're tipping me in value. If you go on Nostr and you make a post and take some pictures and stuff, you can get some stats like that. If you make a YouTube video, you can start making YouTube revenue. If you start, anything and put your QR code up in the corner, they can zap you some sats, some value. So, like I said, it's incredible the world that we live in today, especially with the technology and AI and the things that you can learn so quick. And when you think about it, it's just when I needed to learn something, I had to walk to the library back in the 80s. Now I can just do it from my phone, not only with Google and AI, but everything else. So you just got to get out here, do the best you can, and get out here and be a producer/creator.
There's so many small examples I want to bring up, but I will bring up one example that just happened yesterday to me. I'm very new to live streaming. I have the problem that my saliva is still like weird. So because with guests, I have the calmness and I have like some pauses also in there when the guest is speaking. But in this podcast, in the live stream, it's like almost 2 hours where I speak only. And I'm like, oh fuck, like my mouth is killing me. And so I'm trying to avoid that. And there's like the small things in there. So like you keep learning and keep learning and you're getting better and better in this. But then there's times where someone just like sees the value that you're providing. And yesterday was one of those. I did the live stream and just a random guy, MP was his handle, just was like, oh, here you go, Robin, 50 subscription. Like 50 subscriptions to my YouTube channel. He just gifted to my YouTube channel. And this for a few people, because I also did not know how this works. Like I've never gotten that. And I was like, he gifted me 50 subscription, like what does this even mean? But how it works, he pays for 50 subscriptions for 1 month from my YouTube channel membership. And YouTube picks out the people that get it randomly, that YouTube thinks is the best fit. I don't know how it does that, but YouTube does that. And so it's like just a random act of kindness where I'm like, oh, wow. Like he received value from me. And so he gave value back to me, and value back to me, like more like value back to the whole community. That's why I think gifting subscriptions is like an amazing thing, because you give basically to me and to the community at the same time. If you just give me like 50 subscription costs like $90 or something like that, so it's a bunch of money, but it's not only like if he just gives me $90, like the community doesn't really has anything from that. He also gave it to the community. So there's also some service behind that. I absolutely love that. And I'm just telling you guys, those small random act of kindnesses came very early on. Within the first 2-3 months, there were people saying like, oh, do you have a wallet of Satoshi? And I was like, yeah, here you go. And he says, oh, I sapped you 10K Satoshis because I love what you're doing and I want to encourage that. And I'm like, but why? Like, what, like you didn't have to do that. I didn't even know you. Like I didn't even had any clue you existed. You just give me 10K Satoshis, like just because. And he's like, yeah, like, I was like, okay, what do you want from that? And he's like, nothing. Like, just keep doing what you do. And I was like, I would have done it anyways. And he's like, yeah, that's why I give it to you, because you're the right guy. and I was so struck by it, by those kindness actors, and they just keep coming in, and the love that you get from the community, if you put in the proof of work and the pudding and the love in the community will love you back, like 100%. Like they will just make sure that you are well.
Absolutely. And congratulations on that. And I'm going to check your live stream out, because you didn't know I did one. I didn't know you did. I just thought you did these. So I'm definitely going to check you out. But that's great to hear that, man. And again, Bitcoiners, I don't know what it is, Robin. They're just the nicest people in the world. And they just do so much for us. And similar to you, I know exactly what you're talking about. When you're doing a live stream, those things are not easy to do. But guys, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you to do a live stream, but if you decide to do it, you can do that. But it's all about consistency, just staying consistent and putting a schedule on. When they know you're going to be there at a certain time, it's almost like, I don't know, the Cosby Show or something, or some TV show. You know what's coming on at 7:00. I know people don't watch things at certain times now because it's TiVo or whatever they got now, Netflix or whatever. But just know that people to know that you're reliable. That's great. But same thing with me, man. When I'm doing a live stream, I've had people, you know, I don't even want to sit here and humble brag or whatever, but it's like, even though I don't have a lot of subscribers, a lot of viewers, I don't have a lot of quantity, I have a quality. And if you get some people that you've absolutely changed their life and they can trust you, because again, we know you're not a liar. They know you're a good person. You're coming from your heart. You're doing your plumbing. You're doing your whatever. And they trust you. And they're like, wow, this person is really not only entertaining me because I like what they're showing me and what they're doing, but they're educating me and they're helping me. They're going to zap you right there. And I get so many, you know, and again, if I had to just, you know, not to knock YouTube, but if I had to depend on my YouTube checks, I wouldn't be paying my bills like Robin can. But with the zaps and everything, it's just incredible. So again, just get out there and do the best you can, and just show people the way with Bitcoin, and get out there.
100%. I agree with that a lot. I wanted to show you one thing more. I forgot. I wanted to just show you this when I showed you the Debasement Google Trends. And before we ended up here, I hope you have time still, but I wanted to show you this thing. From, what is it here? Is it the right tab?
Oh,
yes,
God.
It's Jesse Myers. I love that thing so much. And I had him just on the podcast, was just released today. So for the people, 2 weeks later. And there was one chart in there that I haven't seen, and he showed it to me, and I was like, oh gosh, that's really interesting. Where he showed, so he made a sizing of the market categories, of the asset categories in 2023. And he made the same thing now in 2025. In the future, he will actually like make it more often, those sizings, and updates it, because people absolutely love his chart. And what you see here is Bitcoin and gold went up like crazy in the percentage change. So every asset in absolute terms went up. Like every single asset got bigger. Every single asset, even bonds, even money. But in comparative, like where's the place in the chart? Bitcoin went up 323%. Gold went up 63%. Arts and collectibles roughly stayed the same thing. Equities up 4%, real estate 2%, so like roughly the same thing still. And then bonds and money, they both suffered a loss. So like in relative terms, again, absolute terms, they started they in absolute terms they also grew, because like everything grew. I think the overall growth was 6 or 7%, something like that. And this was just so interesting for me to see how this kind of changing of the world orders is now coming from fiat assets towards hard assets. So bonds and money are losing, and Bitcoin and gold are gaining the shares.
Wow, I've never seen it. That's an incredible chart. But that's just showing it's just basic economics, supply and demand, right? I mean, the reason why Bitcoin and gold are doing what they're doing is simple. The debasement, like you showed the other chart, is going crazy. And people, ask me, how are you so certain Bitcoin is going up? I said, well, it's three things. Number one is they're always going to print money. They're just not going to stop. They're going to keep printing, and they're going to keep printing. And why? Again, this is why I tell you politics is important, because in America in particular, I don't know how it works in other countries, they print too. And we're the global reserve asset, global reserve currency. We're the we're the best house on the best crack house on the crack street. It's still a crack house, but it's bad, right? Is because they spend too much. We have a spending problem. So what happens? They print money and debase the currency. That's number one. Number two is the supply issuance of Bitcoin every 4 years is going down, right? They're cutting it in half every 4 years. So the supply is going down with Bitcoin. Also, people are hodling more, and also people on the back end are losing Satoshis as well, unfortunately, at probably like a 1% clip I've heard, or something like that. So the supply is going to go down. So the supply of dollars go up, the supply of Satoshis goes down with all the things that I mentioned. And then third, because of those first two things, the supply and demand is simple. the dollar demand, because the supply goes up, will go down. Because of Bitcoin's adoption of the supply going down, the demand will go up. So it's always going to work that way. So the fiat debasement, number one, they're always going to print, is going to be less Bitcoin, number two, and because of the first two, the supply, the demand curve, the demand side, the demand for Satoshis will go up, and the demand of fiat will go down, and it's going to keep going up. So your Satoshis are going to be more powerful. Same with gold at a slower rate. And I know they say gold as of this recording, gold is outperforming Bitcoin, and I was interested to see how much gold was down from Bitcoin. I guess it was flat from the 2 years from 2023 and on. But again, I think Bitcoin is going to surpass gold really, really quick, and then suddenly is going to come in faster. But again, because of the mainstream media, because of the what they're saying about gold and the debasement and fiat and inflation, and people feeling the prices at the grocery store and the checkouts and stuff like that, I think it's just going to get more and more and more. And again, that's when then suddenly is going to kick in even more.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And it kind of shows the direction where this is going. And I'm really curious on where this will be going long term. I think it's Bitcoin. I'm curious on what the role of gold also will be. I think gold will always have a role, obviously, because it's used also in the industry. It's used in jewelry. It's used in many different things. But I think monetary premium wise, it's mostly being Bitcoin and nothing else. So real estate will suffer, bonds will suffer, even equities will suffer, in my opinion. Everything will suffer. And then we will have, in maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years, again, the possibility of investing in stocks and equities again, because they have been devalued to their actual real value. And then we can again make an standing of, hey, we have our 80% savings rate, 80% of my net worth is in Bitcoin. And then with the rest of the 10, 15%, maybe I can look at some stocks, some opportunities, maybe have some in my own business, all of that. But Bitcoin is the savings amount. And currently, because it's such an attractive asset, is not only saving, but also investment for me. So I'm just like 100% in at that point.
Me too. And the great thing about that, I'm glad you brought that up, is people are hurting so much because of the debasement of the currency. And like you said, the equities and all that other stuff, the only reason it quote unquote goes up is just keeping up with the money supply. It's not really going up. It's just keeping up with the money supply. But when you think about Bitcoin compared to gold, I used to be an avid gold stacker. And I'll never forget this, man. I would deliver food at the time. I was doing it just to buy gold and silver and a little bit of Bitcoin, because I wasn't really into Bitcoin at the time. This is 2021. I got into Bitcoin February 2021. I got into precious metals the summer before that in 2020. And I remember that every time at night, I would come home and count my cash. And then I say, okay, well, this is what I'm going to put for gas. And then this is what I'm going to buy in gold and silver. And I made a goal where I wanted to buy 100,000 Satoshis a day. I think this was like 2022 when I did that. And back then it was between when it crashed $15, but anywhere between $22 and like $30 for 100,000 sats. Right. And now to try to get 100,000, it's like, it's very difficult to try to get 100,000 Satoshis. But I would take the rest and buy gold and silver. But I remember how the ease I could do just for my phone, just buying it, paying low fees and just buying it right there and instantly getting it and then put it in my cold storage. My point is your salaries, your wages is not keeping up with inflation. So it's tough, right? We're just saying, oh, just save money, just save it. Again, that's why I say do your best to try to increase your revenue by doing a side hustle. If you had to work some overtime, start being a content creator or whatever, and then trying to cut your spending down, because again, your wages, and I know this, your wages are not keeping up with inflation. But the thing is, you don't need that much Bitcoin. You don't need that many Satoshis. Like we showed back in 2015, you can get 400,000 Satoshis for $1. Today, you can get almost 875 today as of this recording. So again, if you want to buy gold, I'm not telling nobody not to, but you're not going to buy gold for $5 or $2 or $10. You can't, but you can buy the most finite, scarce unit on the planet. And like I say, I buy $1 an hour. You can buy $1 a day. You can buy $5 a week, whatever you can. But I'm telling you, it's going to count. It is going to count. So you don't need that much. Work your butt off. Try to get as many fiat currencies as you can. And again, I know your wages are not keeping up with inflation, but you don't need that much. Set a goal and just keep on stacking as much as you can.
100%. And man, I loved it so much. I feel like we should keep going, but like maybe I will do something. This is actually I thought about that. I want to combine long term my live stream with having the guest live stream also. So right now I just do the podcast that I always did in that fashion, and just started with the live stream last week. And I want to make sure I do the live stream in a similar fashion. I do the podcast in a similar fashion that I do my live stream. So the next time we talk, I feel like we will be on a live stream where my podcast is also live stream. I really want to do that. It feels so much better if it's not just the two of us, but it's also the audience directly in there, because I feel like there are people now that had questions on along the way, that had like, oh wait, but how is that? Oh, but because we are just two people, we can forget things. We can like override on things, and then people are like, hey, like why don't you talk about that? And then I'm like, oh yeah, that's like really interesting. Like that we should dive deep in that. So I don't know. I currently have a lot of thoughts on live streaming, and I might just develop my podcast into a live streaming podcast where I have a short session where I give an overview of the news, and then I have like a deeper dive with a guest or something like that. But yeah, anyways, that's for future. I'm really looking forward to like trying that out, and maybe I do it with you later this year. I don't know. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Let's see where it goes.
I love that, man. Every time me and you have gotten together, this is the third time's a charm. We always, at the end, we look up and it's an hour or something. We're like, oh, we want to keep going. And then we turn off the camera like, hey, maybe we should do something together, you know. And you know, me and Robin met in Vegas a few months ago. And I saw him and he saw me. We just had this big smile on his face. And he's like, man, you should be a comedian. You're so funny, man. I said, yeah. And he stood up. I was like, wow, he's tall, you know. But me and Robin have a lot of chemistry. I know we don't look alike, but we think a lot alike. And I do my live stream every day. And I think one day we're gonna do a lot of things together. I think we got some good chemistry.
Awesome. Absolutely, yeah. And you're actually funny. Like in person, like you're a freaking comedian.
Thank you.
You should do stand up. Like I think you could be the Bitcoin comedian, like the stand up comedian. Like I would love that.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that. And when you see my live streams, let's just say we get a little wild, and I do a lot of. I try to be funny and I try to educate people, make them laugh, but I'm trying to sneak in the education too while I'm making them.
That is absolutely fair. I have one question for you, a question that I have for each and every one of my returning guests. You're the third time returning guest already. What have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance?
Well, unfortunately, I learned that there are a lot of evil in the world, and I used to focus on Democrat, Republicans a lot, but I've realized it's not left versus right. It's us versus them. And I'm talking about the elite class. And when I seen, and unfortunately, I don't want to end it on a bad note. But when I seen, the great Charlie Kirk, what happened to him, that affected me a lot. And, not just, again, it was horrific what happened to him, but the reactions from people that they were happy and all these other things. I'm just like, wow, man. So it's my mission right now. What I've learned is there's a lot of evil in the world. There's a lot of people that are getting brainwashed. And again, we talk about being funny and joking around, and I do that. But I am a very serious person about what I'm doing here with Bitcoin. And, my mantra is God, family, country, Bitcoin, in that order. And I want to help people. And this is what happened. This is what I learned. I want to help people get away from the brainwashing of the mainstream media. Because if they keep getting brainwashed and they hate Trump and they hate this and hate that, or they hate capitalism and they want socialism and communism, they're never going to get into Bitcoin and they're never going to be good people. And I've noticed that Bitcoiners are just the best people, and I want people just to get back to the basic and say, you know what, I am a human being. And just because I disagree with somebody politically, that doesn't mean I have to hate them. And again, these elites, I hate to say this, but they're doing a lot of the divide and conquer thing. And I've never seen my country this divided. So I'm trying to bring everybody back to the middle. Love, have love for God, whatever you believe in. Just love your family, love your country, be nice to others, treat others how you want to be treated, the golden rule, and just be a good person. And that's what I try to do every day. And that's what I try to teach every day on my show.
Love, not hate. Like, I love that message. Very, very true. We have an end routine in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, if you could ensure that Bitcoin succeeds, but you wouldn't need to give up all your Bitcoin, would you do that?
And okay, so if let's just say hypothetically that if I don't give up my Bitcoin, it doesn't succeed.
I guess that's
because I know it's going to succeed. But if it doesn't succeed, then yes, I would. Absolutely. That would be tough to do because I care about my family. Obviously, I put my family first. But in order for humanity to do it, if I know my family could save in Bitcoin, they're not going to have the Bitcoin that I have. And the only way I could do it is if I had to give up my Bitcoin, then yes, I would. Unfortunately.
Yeah, because in the sense of living in the Bitcoin world without Bitcoin is still better than living with worthless Bitcoin in a fiat world, because in both cases you have no Bitcoin, and in the other world you at least have a Bitcoin world. So I guess if you break it down to first principles, it becomes very easy actually.
Yes, and I would as soon as the world adopted Bitcoin, I'd do my best to run and try to get as much as I could and put it in my savings account and my cold storage. I know I couldn't get to where I was before, but I'd definitely be trying to get as much as I could.
Absolutely. Love that answer. Thank you so much, Jerry. How's it called? Jerry loves freedom, and I love what Jerry's doing. So that's my ending sentence today. Before I let you go, where can people find you and ask you questions and reach out to you?
Yes. Jerry Loves Freedom on YouTube. I'm on Nostr too, and a little bit, and X. Just type in Jerry Loves Freedom, and you'll find me there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jerry, for being on. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.